Warren Buffett spends 5 to 6 hours a day reading. A lot of times he reads 5 newspapers and 500 pages of corporate reports. Bill Gates reads over 50 books a year, which averages out to about 1 a week. Elon Musk devoted the majority of his childhood to reading, and it's often said that in grade school he spent over 10 hours reading a day.
And those are just a few of the many wealthy that have dedicated a substantial portion of their lives to reading.
Whether it's to expand your vocabulary or open up your mind on different subjects, there's tons and tons of reasons. And for a long time, I did not read on my own for fun. It took me quite a while to get in the habit of reading books regularly and continuing to constantly be learning. And while everyone has their own specific genre they like to read, whether it's history, whether it's science fiction, adventure, there's tons of genres out there, but I personally think there's some books out there that every single person can benefit from in one way or the other. And I truly think if I did not read these books, if I never picked up these books, I really wouldn't have the mindset I have today. And I personally look at this as one of the biggest reasons why every single person should spend some portion of their day and a lot of their time reading, because it can completely change a person's mindset. And as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to give you guys 5 books that I have read that really changed my life for the better. Obviously, everything I say in this video take with a grain of salt. Maybe some of these books you read you're not a fan of, or maybe you're gonna start reading some of these books and you just don't like them. To each its own. But at the end of the day, if you do get any value out of this, make sure to drop a like on the video. I know my eye's kind of a little bit messed up right now. Let's just get that out of the way right from the start. But make sure to drop a like on the video. It really helps the channel, really helps the channel grow. Also, remember to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any future uploads. I know we missed a video last week. That was due to technical difficulties, let's say. It was very, very difficult to film the video. So we didn't end up putting one out on Thursday, but we're gonna stick to the 2 videos a week upload for the foreseeable future unless we encounter any more technical difficulties. The first book on this list we're going to talk about is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I'm sure this book a lot of people watching this video have at least heard of because it is very common and it's a very, very highly rated book. And if you have not read it, I would really, really recommend it. You're going to cross paths with a lot of different people over the course of your life. Some you're going to like, some you're not going to like. And for that reason, as simple as it sounds, I would really recommend reading this book for that reason and that sole reason if I had to pick one. This book taught me a lot of things about how to deal with people maybe I'm not the biggest fan of, maybe I don't see eye to eye with. Some of the reasons just include not complaining or not criticizing people when I don't agree with them, or giving honest and sincere appreciation when someone maybe you're not the biggest fan of does something right and commendable, and looking from another person's perspective and putting yourself in their shoes. This book also taught me ways to be more liked. Like, for example, just to name a couple, don't talk about yourself all the time. Don't just always talk about your job. Don't just always talk about your family. Don't just always talk about you. Take a genuine interest in what other people are interested in, even if you have no idea what you're talking about, because people like to be asked about themselves. They like to talk about themselves. So by asking another person how they feel, how their day went, maybe their opinions on something, they feel important, and that's gonna go a long way for you. Then on top of that, another way he talks about is be a good listener. Don't just be someone that asks a question, doesn't pay attention at all, and asks the same question again 10 minutes later or the next day. Like I just said, by taking a genuine interest in what other people have to say and what other people think, you're going to be a lot more likable. There's obviously a lot more that's discussed in this book. I'm not going to go over the entire thing for you guys, but there are some other things that are discussed in this book that are extremely helpful, such as, I guess, the negotiation tactics he discusses in this book that really, I guess, push people to have a similar thought process to what you have. Some of the methods on how he talks about you can do this is let the other person do a great deal of talking. Bring up the idea that you have and present it in a way that the other person thinks it's theirs. And showing a great deal of respect for others' opinions. Don't just come out and say they're wrong. Now, I know I've already said this before, but I really think this is one of the greatest books you can read. I don't think this matters if you really have no desire or no interest to get involved in investing and personal finance or anything like that. I really think this book is something every single person can use for the rest of their lives. It's really going to change their mindset around how to deal with people, how to talk to people. It's just overall a 10 out of 10 book, and it's honestly probably, if I had to pick one book on this list, this might be the one I recommend. The second book that we're going to talk about on this list, and this is more of a personal finance book, but it also has a lot to do with the psychology behind personal finance, and I'm sure you guys have heard of this book, and it's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is really a fantastic book that speaks on the topics of financial literacy, building wealth, and investing in assets, and how important these topics are. These things are done in this book through real estate investing, but there's tons of ways to do this, and the overall goal around this book is to kind of change your psychology around money and what is an asset and what is a liability, and really putting those two definitions set in stone. Obviously, in society, a lot of people have different opinions around what is an asset and what is a liability. But in this book, and this really changed my psychology around how I think of assets and liabilities, and it really talks about how an asset is something that's going to put money into your pocket, and how a liability is something that's going to take money away from you. And one of the biggest examples that Robert Kiyosaki uses in this book is your home. A lot of people think of your home as the greatest investment that you can have, and I can understand why people think of this, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people are going to buy a home that's way over their head and that they can't afford, and they end up being this thing called house poor, which is exactly what I just said. They're in a home that they can't afford, and they can't afford to do anything else at all. And this provides a big problem, and honestly just leads to a big loss with your finances. But the reason I think this book's going to be so valuable and so interesting to a lot of people is because I feel like a lot of people just don't have interest in these type of books or this type of knowledge because they just don't like numbers and they don't like dealing with numbers. Well, there's really not a lot of numbers in this book. This is actually more of a story, I guess you could say. Like, if I didn't know this book was based on a true story, I guess you could think it was some sort of fictional story. This book is essentially about Robert Kiyosaki and his two dads. Now, he doesn't actually have two dads. One dad is his real dad, his poor dad, and one dad is his friend's dad or his rich dad. His real dad or his poor dad is someone that always preached what society preaches. You need to go to school, you need to get a job, you need to do all these things, you need to get a really big house, you need to have a really nice car. All these things society really preaches, and if you're not doing, you're almost looked at as you didn't do everything the right way per se. But the problem is, although his poor dad did all these things, he went to school, he got a good job, he got good grades in school, he has a very high paying job because of these things, but the thing is he's still living paycheck to paycheck. On the other hand, his rich dad preached things like learning how money works, how to become financially literate, how to make money work for you, and understanding that all from the lower and middle class work for money as opposed to the wealthy, they make money work for them. And one of the most important things I took away from this book is a lot of people are going to say, I don't care about money, I don't care about investing, finances aren't that important, I just want to live my life. And I understand why people think that, and I understand why maybe you don't care about money, but the only thing that really matters, and I took this away from this book and it sticks with me to this day, is Robert Kiyosaki talks about in this book, he's like, okay, if you're someone that says buying assets doesn't matter, building wealth doesn't matter, investing doesn't matter, money doesn't matter, if you're one of those people, why are you working 8 hours at a job? The third book on this list, and I personally think this is a great one to read, especially if you're someone that's struggling with budgeting or managing your finances or even financial literacy in general and investing. I think this is a fantastic, fantastic startup book. There's tons of books I could have put in this spot, but I think this is a fantastic book for a beginner. I actually think this is more valuable as opposed to Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. I like this book a lot better. And this book is I Will Teach You to Be Rich. This book really portrays it's okay to spend money from time to time. It's okay to buy that $4 latte if it makes you happy. It's okay to go out to eat with your friends once a week. It's okay to spend money on that item you've really been saving up for. It's okay to spend money on things that make you happy. But before you can do that, you have to get your finances in order. And this book really describes a great plan how to do that. It describes a great plan on how you can pay off debt, automate your finances, invest and build your wealth rather easily. I actually think in this day and age, people are going to get more value out of this book than opposed to something like The Intelligent Investor, which The Intelligent Investor is a great book. It's actually not on this list, but I feel like I Will Teach You to Be Rich is a little more modern. Obviously, I Will Teach You to Be Rich and The Intelligent Investor are kind of different books. The Intelligent Investor kind of more like, I guess, stock market related. I Will Teach You to Be Rich is more around overall personal finance and investing as a whole. But I really feel like that one's going to be, like I said, more modern, and it's going to be easier for most people watching this video to understand. I feel like this book really helps put a lot of things into perspectives, and it really shows you that you don't have to be stressed over every big financial purchase that you make, especially if it's something that makes you happy. Maybe this is having a wedding, maybe it's going on a vacation, or maybe it's having children. There's ways to plan for all of these things so it's not a financial burden on you and your spouse or whoever else is involved. The fourth book on this list is The Power of Habit. Now, as you guys know, I'm someone that likes to take control of my habits because I personally believe if you don't take control of their habits, then in the end, they're going to take control of you. A lot of bad habits people have, I think they looked at this, they're addicted to them, and in some cases that might be true, but I think what really a lot of people don't understand is the reason that they're addicted to them is because they've built the habit as opposed to actually being addicted to it. What this book really opened my eyes to is this thing called habit loops, and habit loops are the reason you're so addicted to that unhealthy habit or even a healthy habit. You're so addicted to going through those motions, that's why you feel like you have to do it every single day. Let's take the example of someone that always comes home and have a couple of beers after they get out of work. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. I know a lot of people that do this, and this is pretty common. There's nothing wrong with this at all. It's just an example. But let's say you're someone that decides, I want to go on a diet, I want to lose some weight, I want to cut back on drinking, and the first place you decide to start is cutting out those couple of beers after you get out of work. And let's say you go cold turkey and you decide, all right, I don't want to drink anymore after work. I'm cutting out these beers that I normally have after work. Well, what's going to happen is when you get home and you sit down on that couch where you normally have a beer, your brain's going to have essentially a sensor that goes off that just says, I want a beer, I want a beer, I want it now. And what happens with a lot of people is they say things like, you know what, I had a really long day today, I really want a beer, I'll start tomorrow. And they make an excuse and they justify it and then they move on. And while I can see why people do this, the point is, and the point that this book really drove home is tomorrow really going to be any different than today? Are you not going to find an excuse tomorrow as opposed to today? And I personally believe in a lot of situations, obviously everyone's situation is different, but in a lot of situations, you're not going to stick to it tomorrow. And tomorrow is going to turn into 2 days, then a week, then 2 weeks, then 2 months, and so on and so on. And before you know it, that habit has complete control of you. And this isn't just like this with bad habits, it's like this with good habits as well. Like, for example, me making YouTube videos. Like, it was very hard to not put out that video on Thursday, and I felt guilty, but there was a legitimate reason as to why I could not, and I need to understand that. But for anyone out there that does have a bad habit, whether it is having some beers after work, or maybe it's biting your nails, or maybe it's just you want to start some sort of side hustle, it really shows you that you need to replace that bad habit with a good habit in order to really execute it. And for this reason, I really would recommend this book to everyone that is struggling with changing their habits. And the last book we are going to talk about on this list is Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Out of all the books I've read on this list, this book truly changed my financial life more than any others. By the time I finished reading this book, I understood the importance of investing, the importance of having a retirement account and starting a retirement account early as opposed to later, and really money as a whole. To summarize this book in one sentence, Tony Robbins basically has a 7-step process on how to take control of your financial life today. A lot of these things that you hear me say in a lot of these videos, like make sure you take 10% off your check and treat it as a tax and invest it, don't even think about it, or maybe create a plan that really sets you up for success because failing to plan is planning to fail. All these things that I say so often, a lot of them come from this book. And this might sound super basic, but the honest truth is that a lot of these sayings that I really preach to other people, they really stemmed when I first read them in this book. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of Tony Robbins, and I understand why, but a lot of the research that he put into this book, from the interviews with Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett, John Bogle, it's honestly really commendable. And this really is my favorite book I've ever read, and this book really did change my financial life in a way that I couldn't even imagine. And I really think that this book, the reading of this book, indirectly led to me starting this YouTube channel. I truly believe if I did not read this book, I would not be the man I am today. I would not have the mindset I am today. I would not be the investor I am today. And I don't even know if I'd be standing in front of you talking to this camera today. So in saying that, I really would recommend this book to anyone that has any sort of interest in taking control of their financial future and really making their own path to greatness. In saying that, those are the 5 books that I would recommend reading to every single person out there. And I think every single person can get a tremendous amount of value from. And in saying that, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you did get some value out of this, as always, make sure to drive a like in the video, make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you have read them, which one's your favorite. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.